The bugler is that figure that is, in a way, the final moment of laying a serviceman to rest. The playing of taps, in a way, is the capstone of this event. It marks that point of transition, and the whole ceremony kind of moves to now a different phase. In a way, he comes to symbolize for many people that significant moment. What we wanted to do is find something, some element here that would recognize that moment. And we fixed upon the bugler to do that. To me, the significance of the bugler and the playing of taps is that it marks that moment. And there is that second between the time that the bugler raises the bugle to his lips and starts the playing of taps. It's that just millisecond in time where everybody is looking at the bugler. They're waiting for that sound. And then he starts playing taps. And what we wanted to do here was to catch that moment. We were asked to redesign the Visitor Center gallery to make it a welcome center.
The Arlington National Cemetery tasked the Center for Military History to provide all the curatorial and design of the new Visitor Center.
The design that we worked out has this element of attractiveness and vibrancy. And it basically tells the story of Arlington National Cemetery and its significance to the nation.
The building's layout almost just seems to demand something at the center of the two axes of the building from which visitors can enter. They can enter through any of several different doors, and whichever entrance they choose, we want them immediately to see something significant, something that catches the eye. And the bugler playing taps seemed like the most iconic figure that we could imagine putting in that spot.
I think it's evident to all that would come into the Welcome Center exactly what that figure means and what Arlington means.
I'm unable to put myself in the shoes of a person who actually plays taps at funerals. I can't imagine, but it must be very emotional and meaningful to the bugler. I don't think it could ever become something that one does purely mechanically without feeling. And therefore getting that moment and that empathy that the bugler has as a result of having done this before and knowing what's coming and knowing how all eyes are turned on him and knowing how for these people, the mourners, the world stands still until he's finished, the last of those 24 notes. We couldn't see hiring someone as an actor or to do that. It seemed like the authenticity of the figure had to come from someone who had actually experienced it firsthand.
It's vitally important that the bugler be authentic. And thus we decided very early on that it would be a member of the band. It would be a person that actually performs that ceremony.
My name is Staff Sergeant Jesse Tubb from the United States Army Band, and I'm on a train northbound to New York City to go to ICE Studios, where they make statues, and I'm going to be a statue.
So I contacted the sergeant major of the band and basically described what it was I was looking for. And the next day I came over to the Army Band and met Staff Sergeant Jesse Tubb. And he was perfect. He was something that I knew that the public would be able to quickly identify with, and thus really help give authenticity to what it was we were trying to do and portray.
So obviously it's an amazing honor, and my head's still sort of spinning from the news and from dealing with all the logistics of getting this to happen.
Making the figure highly realistic is important to maintain that connection between the visitor and the bugler, that this bugler is a real human being.
You don't just say, I want, a bugler in dress uniform from Arlington Cemetery. You've got to get all the details right.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi, nice to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Waiting for you. So, the first thing we have to do, because Dr. Curitan wants to see you in your uniform, we'll photograph you in that uniform in the pose.
Okay.
You have the bugle, right?
Yep.
Okay.
We didn't have an extra bugle laying around that was in floor model shape, and so we had to order a new bugle, and we had to have it express shipped.
So he wants to see the fit of the uniform on you.
Excellent.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, would you like to do that first, or would you like a tour of the studio?
Let's do the tour now.
Okay.
And then,
Just so you can see what we do.
yeah.
Welcome to Studio Ice. I'm the production manager here at Studio Ice, and I've been working here for over 7 years now, and in the industry for about 13, 14 years. Costume shop / painting studio. Right now our painter will be here in any moment, and she's actually in progress painting some of these figures. Again, these are for the Puerto Rico Sports Museum. We have a biker, we have a karate guy here who's all bagged up so we don't get the costume dirty and everything like that. So over here, this is Thomas Jefferson for Richmond State Capitol in Virginia. This was an 8-foot tall bronze sculpture dedicated in May, and he's on a 4-foot tall base in a very impressive rotunda at the Capitol building. These are all head molds of past work, some castings, some paint tests, sculpting tests, that kind of business. You see various figures in different states of casting and assembly.
My first impression of the place and the people were they were absolute professionals. They sort of gave us a history of some of the work that they've done, and just amazing, overwhelming, the level of detail and the amount of work that has to go into each product that they do, and it's really really fascinating.
What you have here is a mix of infantry figures and sports figures. We have a weightlifter, we have a swimmer about to take off on the diving board, a runner. This is a old guard.
Oh, nice.
He's standing at attention. We
Yeah.
still have a little bit of work to do on that as far as getting hands on the weapon in the correct position and
Right.
everything.
Studio Ice. Welcome, let's get started.
Yeah, sounds good. You'll meet everybody in the team. Usually you get dressed in underwear. We have a bathrobe and everything like that. We head our way back to the casting room.
I hadn't spent much time thinking about what was going to happen just because I had no clue how it was going to work. I didn't know whether they were going to do the entire body at one time, and so having to hold the pose, I had no idea, and so I sort of didn't let myself get too carried away with the guessing game.
We cast your head first, body second. We do your body in 2 parts, upper part and lower part, and then we do your hands at the end. So the whole casting scenario will probably be about 2.5 hours or so, something like that.
And then you can
it's
shower
a
up.
fairly simple pose, yeah.
I wanted to use an Army band member because the uniform is very striking, and I think is in part of what represents and symbolizes Arlington National Cemetery in the minds of the American public.
That's the actual jacket and pants.
Light just eats up fabric. It will, dry up the threads. It will cause the fabric to fade. So we didn't want to use a uniform that actually had a history associated with it. So what we did with Staff Sergeant Tubb is looking at him in his uniform. We had the Army Band provide us exactly the same uniform with all his medals and so forth, straight out of issue.
I want to talk to you about what Dr. Puritan has asked us to do.
Okay.
When we talk about this moment, he talks about it representing all of Arlington. And he really wants to capture an incredible moment, which I think all of us, many of us know. Just before you fill your cheeks with air. He calls it a pregnant pause when we know that taps are coming.
You don't want to do it when he's taking the breath. You don't want to do it when he starts blowing on the trumpet.
He wanted, just a real slight separation in the lips as, I've taken the breath in, I'm getting ready to play, and it's that moment right before you play that he wanted to capture. And so we took some photos about a week and a half ago and sent them up to the studio. And while we were at the studio, they were very concerned about the facial expression, more than I would say anything else.
And so we did take after take until we really caught that.
Just so you know, but that is the moment that he is talking about capturing. This is for the facial expression. I just told him that.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah.
No.
Can you check them out?
Jesse?
Yep.
Are you claustrophobic? No, you could not be. Are you?
No.
Okay, perfect.
So you're on a lazy Susan here. So
Okay.
the first thing we're going to do is get just a shot of you kind of generally in your costume. And then I want to actually do the pose. And then I'm going to spin you around and get like a bunch of different shots around. And then we'll focus on doing photos for your head. Okay?
Okay. I'm sorry.
I take my picture with everybody. Everybody I like.
All right. Very good.
Thank you, Jesse.
Okay, so this one we're going to do for the pose. And I'm going to need you on this one with the full pose, with the hat exactly how it needs to be on your head, right? Uh-huh. Looking however you're going to be looking, tilt of the neck, everything like that. And we're going to do a slow rotation, right? The same quarter thing. Hold on. Now it's time for the pose, right?
In that meeting, like I said, with a meeting with him, he wanted it open, like not ready to play. So
Close it? I think it's better closed, personally, as a staff leader.
yeah.
Deb, we're talking about the pose and what he's doing right now. So show her again, like right when it's open, his mouth is open, right? You see it?
Very slightly.
And then now close it like you're about to play, right?
It's not
that
playing.
that to me feels so much better.
I have to
I know. Well, I mean, we're kind of
Don't-
talking this through right now, so.
follow this exactly, and I think it's slightly parted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Relax. Guys, wedding ring or no wedding ring?
Wedding ring.
Yeah, there's a little bit of debate whether the wedding ring should be on or not. Even after that, people who weren't at the initial meeting when we talked about it kept on asking, "Oh, wedding ring on or off?" And every single time it was, "No, we're gonna keep it on because this is, this is the statue. This is the person doing it. It's a human being. There's a story here. There's this is a real thing. There's no reason why we should try to strip it down to be more of a mannequin.
He's changing into the casting attire, so, which is basically underwear, a bathrobe, and flip-flops for the time being. Later there'll be nylons that he wears to protect his legs a little bit from having the hair pulled off.
All right. When they first started explaining everything that was involved, where we did the head separately, and then the lower body, the upper body, and then the hands, and then they said that it was all supposed to take place within a 3-hour period, I was sort of, it's hard for me to believe that they were going to be able to do it within 3 hours.
62 3/4. Now, what I want to do before we do the front head, I'm going to go get that trumpet part, and I might have to like kind of hold it against your lips. So I'm going to say get that pose, hold the expression, whatever you're doing in your cheeks, and if you're gripping your teeth in the back when you're about to start, you want to do that kind of thing, because that's when we're starting to get the real setting of the material to capture the pose. So after we do that part, when that sets, we'll be saying 1 more minute, 2 more minutes, whatever it is, until that's finished. We then are going to pull the back part apart. We're going to have you take your hands and hold the mask and bend at your waist, and you kind of puff a little bit of air and kind of let yourself out of it. Okay. We'll kind of help you peel, and then you'll be sitting there staring at yourself. Great. All right.
We started off with the head casting, which was a really unique experience. They plastered this goo all over my head, and then they covered it with this gauze, this gypsum gauze, and it was like being submerged in water. It was really sort of dampened all the senses, and sort of just keep breathing calmly through my nose, not trying to panic with having 10 pounds of material on your head.
You can just hold that for a little bit longer until we get that bandage on there.
When they put the molding on my head, we had to put the mouthpiece, so they put the layer of goo on my face, and I had to keep that pose. And I put the mouthpiece on my lips in order to get that indentation in the face, in the head casting.
Thank you.
And that was sort of, I think, the most interesting moment of the whole process, was just having to keep that while the goo was sort of filling in the gaps and coming in my mouth a little bit. And but that whole process, I mean, he was very specific about what he wanted, and so hopefully the end product will be what he had envisioned.
Okay. Good. Hanging in there? Good. Okay, you got about 3 minutes or so. Jesse, you got thumbs up? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You get our hands in there. Okay, very good. Coming off, pulling on the skin a little bit. Okay, there it is. All right, hands on the face. Bend at your waist. Slowly start to pull yourself out of there. Leave the mouthpiece, right?
You could blow
You
a little.
can puff a little bit of air in there. You should be able to get yourself out a little bit easier. Might stick on your eyelashes a little. There you go.
Ooh, beautiful. Really nice. Good job.
Sweet.
Yeah. Good. Do you want this to? This is clean. You know, wipe your mouth. It's really perfect.
That's cool.
Can you figure out what that looks like? Looks like you, man. It's just negative.
That's the negative me. I'm getting rid of my negative.
Exactly.
Only positive left.
Actually, it looks great. You have enough open mouth in there. I can see it. It's perfect.
Can you tilt it this way?
It's a good cast. Very good cast. Great job.
And after the head, we did the legs, and that was, I got to wear some tights again, which was always, always a special moment.
Mauricio, you can screw that together. Okay. So you can kind of throw into that a little bit if you need to. Yeah, that's okay. This is just going to help keep your arm there, but I don't want you to rely on it so much, you know?
Right.
Good? Check to where you would be on that.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay.
And you can move the bugle back and forth.
Yeah, and we'll be
slide it right. Yeah.
and where it is, right? I could give you again. I can give you something to hold on to if you feel it, because the hand cast we don't have to do right now. We'll do that secondary.
Okay.
You'll be able to do this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Good.
I'll take that. Okay, very good. Anna's got a pair of pantyhose for you.
All right. Good to go?
I think so.
Looking good? All right. Here you go.
Thank you.
Everyone ready? You ready?
Yep.
So we're just doing side seams, right? Right down the sides?
Which one?
This is 2.
Okay, here we go. To do the top half, but before we start the top, we'll remove the bottom half, and he'll have a couple of minutes to relax, maybe have some water, and then we'll Vaseline the top half, which is the release agent, so that our mold comes off nicely. What we're going to do is we'll take the back half off first, and you'll just stay stationary. Okay. And then after the back half is off, we'll just step out of the front, one leg at a time. You're going to have to let's focus on the back first. You're gonna get this. We'll start. Yes, be careful. Okay. All right, I'm going to remove the back support. Okay. Check the panels.
Okay.
Okay. Are they separate good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, great. All right, now be very careful because it's very slippery. Sure. So just one leg at a time as you prefer. Your right leg, just ease it out.
All right, take your hand and go like this with the that sticking again.
Great. And there's this post right behind you.
Be careful where you're stepping. You got to mix the Vaseline and water.
And you step that to this side. Excellent. Well done. Great. So have a seat for a moment, and then we'll be right back, and we'll put Vaseline on the top half, and then we'll proceed with the top half.
You know, the biggest thing with this would be the actual posture and pose of the figure. That has to be the truest thing. The expression, I think he got it in the life cast, so we should just be, it's about making it look like him when his eyes are open. It's because he got that expression of the pause right before he's about to blow. But the big thing about building this would be actually to make sure that he's in the proper stance and position, and that the costume looks nice draped on his figure.
When they did the casting for the legs and the upper arm, the longer it stays on your body, the more it heats up, and I'm sure that's just a chemical process of hardening. And they left the upper body on longer than the lower body, and I think it was partly the woman who was in charge of that process was explaining the process and kind of talking, and it got pretty warm, and I started sweating, and I started getting a little uncomfortable. I was like, all right, I'm ready.
He's our best model ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
I agree.
Well, all right.
I agree.
You get that on tape?
You were perfect from the minute you walked in the door, and someone, when we were posing you, Lemore walked in and thought you were a sculpture because you could stand so perfectly still. No, that's actually
Yeah, and he's very statuesque.
Are you finished?
Yes, I'm going to cast at the head, and they're going to cast the hands. So we can
Oh,
have the
okay,
hands
great.
to do.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think the only surprise that maybe I wasn't fully anticipating and caught me off guard a little bit was the hands, and just how they had to cast the hands. And I guess I didn't really give it, like I said earlier, I didn't give it too much thought as to what they were going to do.
Cool.
With my left hand being an intention and my right hand clasping the bugle, they put this stuff called body double on my hands, and it formed into this really hard rubber around my hands, and you've got all the details of wrinkles and whatnot in the wedding ring. One of the employees forgot to put the remove cream on before they put on the rubber molding, so instead of it kind of gliding off, it sort of tore off.
It's all right. Just do it. Don't.
No, just go.
It's okay. Okay.
I can hear the hair tearing.
It's okay. Just do it.
Can you feel your finger? Can move it?
I'm trying.
Okay.
My thumb's loose.
Thumb loose?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's coming loose. Just don't pop yourself in the head.
Don't worry about my head.
Okay, we're good. So. Okay.
I think even with the remove goo having been placed underneath it, it still would have been a challenge to get it off based on how the hands are clasped around the bugle, and then having to be in the form of a tension on the other hand.
You should be pulled it out. I forgot it. I just thinking this is a live phone. I just. So good.
Oh yeah.
What's that?
Beautiful.
Is any care, or is it okay?
Yeah. Can put it later here.
You can put it.
We get to do it again.
Yeah.
They were really good. I mean, they had a team working on one thing, and while that team was working on a specific part of the project, another team came in and took care of the other part of it. People kept on sweeping in and out and doing different jobs. Yeah, it happened a lot quicker than I thought overall after they had explained the process to me.
Well, we have to actually put together the mold of his body and then cast the positive material into that, which is a urethane foam. Expanding foam fills the body form. From that point, we tear the mold apart. It's a one-time use mold, which that mold gets thrown away, and then we're able to actually build the figure at that point. We'll have his lower torso and upper torso. We put it together with all the measurements that we have made, and working with the photographs that we have of the approved pose, we pose the figure with the cast hands and the plaster head.
Once we have the mold for the head, which we have here, if you can see in there, I'm going to slush it, which is to make a positive of the head, and I'm going to use regular plaster for it. And then I'm going to back it with burlap. And then from there, there'll be a lot of sculpting. So the eyes are drilled out, and the eyes are sculpted in clay. And then it'll be cast in a more durable material like an acrylic resin. So it'll be sort of like a car body. It'll be really hard, whereas this plaster is pretty soft.
After you take the mold of the hand, we cast it in urethane plastic, because the urethane plastic is exhibit ready, and that can be a direct thing that gets built onto the figure. So what John's doing right now is just attaching the two halves that they made around his hands and preparing it to then pour the liquid plastic in there. It's finished.
So the whole finished product is really a combination of different techniques and different materials that sort of all come together, and some.
It's a mixed material. process. You have foam, you have plaster, you have plastic, you have epoxy, you have acrylic paint.
And the different mediums,
And
different
the
substances,
costume.
yeah, they allow you different control, different levels
Definitely.
of detail over different parts.
Yep.
Perfect. There you are. Very nice. It turned out beautifully.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
The eyes will be drilled out, and they'll be sculpted in clay. Mouth will be sculpted in clay. Of course, the head is going to be, contoured and then sculpted in clay as well. So, in order to have the mouthpiece for the trumpet articulate, we have this kind of impression of the mouthpiece. But yeah, this is a beautiful casting. So I'm going to go ahead and refine it. I'll clean it up. I'll shape the head. Clean the ears, carve the nostrils out, get all the little air bubbles off. But this is really an ideal outcome for a head cast. It's really beautiful.
Capital Exhibit Services is a full-service design, fabrication, and installation service company providing museum installations throughout the nation. The Arlington Visitor Center is definitely one of the most prestigious projects that we've worked on in a while. We began working on this project back in August of 2012. The Bugler figure arrived here in early November.
Well, when we got the mannequin in originally from New York, we discovered that one of the wheels had been busted off by the shipper.
We noticed that there was some external damage, and when opening the crate, we noticed that the figure, the bugle mouthpiece was slightly ajar from the lips, which shouldn't have been.
The bugle was about 2 inches away from the bugler's mouth, which was not going to work.
Obviously something had happened to the figure during shipment, and that Studio Ice would need to send someone down immediately to take a look at the figure.
So we had somebody over Christmas time who was actually from the company. He was in town for family.
When they came and looked at the figure, it was determined that actually a crack had appeared in the arm of the bugler, which had led the mouthpiece to be slightly ajar from the lips.
And they made the decision to ship it back up to New York, fix it, and we shipped it back.
The figure is now back, and we are at the install week. The figure will go in, be shipped down to the facilities, and be installed this Thursday evening.
Really looking forward to getting this one done and banging it out. It's a great honor to have the opportunity to do this.
Just a week ago, the walls were old black and white photos. Today we have brand new dynamic color photos. There are glass display panels that have history on the glass, silk screened, and the lit photographs behind panels are beautiful. It's a bright and an enjoyable experience for all visitors. My name is Renee Yates. I'm the Federal Advisory Committee Analyst for Arlington National Cemetery, and I've been the project manager for the redesign of the displays here in what was the Visitor Center, was soon to be the Welcome Center at Arlington National Cemetery. The centerpiece of the new exhibit is a museum figure of a U.S. Army band, Pershing's own Bugler. The Bugler performs a final tribute to our nation's veterans in the playing of taps at every military funeral. It is the symbol that embodies the military honors rendered to a veteran when they're laid to rest. Therefore, it's fitting that it sits in the very center of the main atrium here in the Welcome Center and is the centerpiece for the new exhibits.
The installation of the Bugler case is going to be one of the last pieces that we put in place.
We'll enclose the box for shipping. go into the back of the truck, be strapped off. The platform behind me will be set in place. We'll put the inner core with the mannequin stand on it. The mannequin will go in. Then we're going to have a couple of the gentlemen from the band tweak the uniform and the mannequin to make sure it's up to specs, and then we'll literally encase it in glass.
It has to be handled with extreme care so that we don't do any further damage or disruption to the figure or the case itself. We have one shot to get this right.
Okay, that's not going to work.
I thought that was awesome.
I thought it was real. I thought somebody was.
No, he's an actual bugler in the Army band.
Oh,
No, it's not real.
that's awesome. You see the way he's taking off all the dust and everything else?
Front edge here.
Okay, these metals are not quite right. I'm gonna.
Sergeant Major.
Teeny bit straight up and down. A little more.
Try not to look at it until after I play taps, so I can just focus on that, but I'm excited to see it.
new Welcome Center will significantly enhance the visitor experience, presenting information on Arlington's annual rituals and military tradition that honor our veterans, help visitors remember the key historical events over Arlington's almost 150-year history. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Catherine Condon, Executive Director, Army National Military Cemeteries and Arlington National Cemetery.
Today we open the new Welcome Center that will allow our families and visitors to better understand the heroes that are here in Arlington. This ribbon cutting also marks another major step forward in our efforts to help others inspire generations to learn about our nation's history, about the military honors and traditions, and the final honors uniquely provided in Arlington to those who have served our great nation in uniform. And now to the man of the hour, Staff Sergeant Tubb. Just like the notes of taps, your figure is going to add a human dimension to the Welcome Center that many visitors might otherwise overlook.
At this time, Staff Sergeant Jesse Tubb, a musician in the United States Army Band, Pershing's Own, who serves at Arlington National Cemetery, will accompany Colonel Thomas H. Palmatier, leader and commander of the United States Army Band, Pershing's Own, to unveil a life-size museum figure of a bugler playing taps, one of the most recognizable components of a military honors funeral for Americans fallen veterans. Staff Sergeant Tubb is a soldier embodied in the figure. The Arlington National Cemetery Welcome Center is officially open. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise to the playing of taps and the Armed Forces Service Medley.
What I think is so significant about this is it's not just a statue of Staff Sergeant Tubb, it's a representation of all of those buglers from Pershing's Own who for decades and decades and decades performed thousands and thousands of military ceremonies each and every year here at Arlington Cemetery. And this statue will serve to represent those incredible soldier musicians who over the years have been such an important part of the history of our nation.
It's a really extreme honor to be now the face of that particular moment that has become symbolic and really deep and meaningful part of our culture. So it gives me goosebumps to think about what that represents and what I'm able to be a part of now, not only as my job, which I feel daily when I go out and do my job, but now to be literally the face of that moment and what that represents to everybody is really, really special.
Because in a way, that represents everything that is Arlington National Cemetery, is the honor that we pay to our servicemen and women, and the significance that their sacrifices have had on our nation. The Bugler represents in one figure everything that is the Arlington experience. It tells the entire story